where I want to start today, I guess, is by telling a story that some of you have heard before, but I feel to tell it again, so here we go. I want to tell the story of the first time I ever did Lesson 122, Forgiveness Offers Everything I Want. This was in August, late August of 2004. And first, I kind of need to back up to April of 2004. Two things happened in April of 2004. It was quite interesting. One of the things that happened in April of 2004, I think you guys know well. This was when I decided to start studying A Course in Miracles. And I had that vision on the Disney cruise where I surrendered the rest of my life. I said, I will learn anything you want me to learn. I will do anything you want me to do. Just make me useful for the rest of my life. That happened in April of 2004. Another thing happened in April of 2004, and I don't remember which came first, but the other thing that happened in April of 2004 is that my boyfriend came to me and said that he was being transferred to Colorado. Now, way back when I was like 27, 28 years old, so quite a ways back at this point, my brother lived in Colorado. And I used to come here and visit my brother like 5 times a year. I just loved Colorado. I always joked that's when I loved my brother the most, when he lived in Colorado, because I had a place to stay and I could come to Colorado. I just fell in love with Colorado. And ever since that time, Colorado was my dream place to live. So go back forward to April of 2004. My boyfriend says he's being transferred to Colorado. And then he asks me to come with him. Now that was a wonderful opportunity for a dream come true. Another thing I kind of had always wanted was to be married, and I wasn't married yet either. And I guess I saw the opportunity for another dream to come true. Besides moving to Colorado, the other was an opportunity to get married. And in fact, I had kind of set up a nice life myself. I had a very good job. I lived in Massachusetts. I had a very good job. My daughter was going to the second best elementary school in the nation. She had to win a lottery to get in there. And, as far as happiness goes, before you know what happiness is, I was fairly happy. So I told him that I would be happy, to give up everything, and Jasmine and I moved to Colorado with him if, and these were my conditions, I had conditions, if, 1, we got married. That would be 2 dreams coming true. Oh, and 3, here's another opportunity for a dream to come true. 3 would be that I wouldn't have to work. I told him that I would sell my house and I would take all of my life savings and I would pay cash for a house in Colorado so that we wouldn't have a mortgage. That would be my financial contribution, and then I wouldn't have to work. So now that's 3 dreams, right? Move to Colorado, get married, not have to work. Oh, and one more dream. I guess maybe the thing on the Disney cruise had maybe come first, because my other dream at this point was to find out what enlightenment was, to become enlightened, but the reason for wanting to become enlightened was to find out what it was, right? And I was studying A Course in Miracles, and I thought, if I'll be able to spend all day while Jasmine is at work, Jasmine is at school and Ron is at work, studying A Course in Miracles. So 4 dreams, right? This is my opportunity to move to Colorado, married, not have to work, and spend all day, every day, studying A Course in Miracles. And he agreed. I was going to get everything that I want. And so I went about taking steps towards getting everything that I wanted. I put my house up for sale. I put in my notice at work. And again, this all started around April 2004. Well, Ron was moving the beginning of September. And so as we get near the end of August, which is when I was studying Lesson 122, Forgiveness Offers Everything That I Want, we're getting pretty close to him leaving for Colorado. And, there had been no, even though he had agreed, there had been no action taken towards getting married, no plans for how we would get married, when we would get married, no engagement ring, no blood test, nothing. And I think I started to suspect, although I denied my suspicion because, I wanted everything that I wanted, and this was the way I was going to get it. Right? I kind of denied that this wasn't happening. I looked the other way. Well, on the day, lesson 122, forgiveness offers everything I want, there were a number of things that had come up, because, I'm listening to the ego mind, so there's a number of things that are coming up. So even though this is everything that I want, there were also fears that were coming up about it, like, what if Jasmine doesn't, isn't happy at her new school? What if she doesn't make friends well? What if the timing of when we sell a house here and when we buy a house there doesn't work out well? I had squirrels in my attic that I couldn't get rid of. No matter what I tried, they kept coming back. What if I can't sell my house because people hear the squirrels in the attic? I had maybe some grievances, it seems like, with the realtor at the time. I wasn't happy with the way she was handling things. So even though, you guys know how the ego is, even though I was getting everything I wanted, there were lots and lots of fears and worries about it too. So I had a very noisy mind. And so when I sat down that day to practice forgiveness offers everything that I want in the first meditation, what I did was I looked at each of these things going on in the mind, like the fear that the timing of selling the houses wouldn't be right, etc. And I handed them to Holy Spirit. I envisioned myself handing them to Holy Spirit, and they would turn into light and disappear. And this is what I was doing during my meditation that morning when the phone rang. And normally, during a spiritual practice, I would ignore the phone, but I felt to answer it. So right in the middle of my meditation, I stopped and I answered the phone, and it was Ron. And he told me that he was off work that day, and he wanted to know if he's always just adored Jasmine. He wanted to know if he could pick up Jasmine early from daycare. She was young then. And I reminded him that I'm off work today too. Hey, we're both off work. Maybe today's the day we could go down and get our blood tests for our marriage license. And what I heard on the other side of the line was silence. And I knew in that moment that all of my dreams were coming crashing down. It wasn't said yet, and in fact, it wasn't said for a few more days yet. But I knew, I couldn't, at this point, that silence I couldn't deny. I knew he was not going to marry me. I knew I was not going to move to Colorado. I knew that I had to take my house off the market. And I knew I was going to be staying with my job, and just life was going to continue as it was. And so when I hung up the phone, I had an unfinished meditation to go back to. Forgiveness offers everything that I want. And I began to ask, what the heck is forgiveness? What is this forgiveness that could offer everything that I want? Especially right now when everything that I want, it appears, is being taken away from me. It was so close. I could taste it. I could smell it. I could almost reach it. Well, sometime, I think it might have been later that day, but you know how memories are. It might have been the next day or the day after. But sometime right around then, Jasmine and I went to a nearby lake, and we were throwing rocks into the lake. And Jasmine was just giggling and giggling, because some of the rocks would make a little sound, some of the rocks would make a big sound, and, she was, again, young, and this was just so much fun for her. And I was right there with her, throwing rocks too, but I just had all this stuff going on in my head. All this stuff, including all of the things that I had before. Now it was, how can I talk Ron into doing this? How can I talk Ron into giving me everything that I want? How can I convince him to marry me? Or maybe I just take the marriage out of it. Maybe I just convince him to, let us move to Colorado with him and live like we're married, but we don't have to get married. Just thought after thought after thought. And I saw that Jasmine was giggling and having fun and being in the moment, and that I wasn't. And so again, I went home and I started journaling, because I journaled. Back then, I would journal at least once a day, more frequently twice a day. And on days when I wasn't working, I might journal 5 or 6 times a day. I was really looking at my mind through journaling. So I went home and I journaled about this experience of being at the lake with Jasmine. And while I'm journaling, I write this sentence. And the sentence was something like, I didn't look it up before today's teaching, so I might have the words slightly off. But the sentence was something like, is forgiveness just letting go of the chatter in my mind? And as soon as I wrote that, I had this deja vu experience. And I knew that was it. I knew that forgiveness was letting go of my thoughts, including my thoughts about what I wanted, including my thoughts that I would be happy in Colorado, happy married, happy not working, happy studying A Course in Miracles, just letting go of everything I thought. That was forgiveness. And so what I did was I began to practice immediately, and when Ron did get around a few days later to telling me that he didn't want to get married, I didn't try to convince him. I just let him go. And in fact, what I found myself doing was trying to help him not feel bad about it, because as you can imagine, his mind was attacking him for backing out, right? So what I found myself doing was trying to help him feel okay about the fact that he didn't want to get married, didn't want us to move to Colorado, etc. Now, for some people, the question may be, now wait a minute, Regina, how did you get everything that you want out of that? Well, we have to look at what we really want. We have to go back and look at, why do I want to move to Colorado? Why do I want to get married? Why do I want to not have to work? And why do I want to have the time to study A Course in Miracles all day, every day? We have to see that our worldly wants aren't an end, they're a means. And there isn't a single worldly want for which this isn't true. Like I recently talked about how Ken and I wanted to move to La Vida. Why did we want to move to La Vida? You see, we make the mistake of thinking that our worldly wants are an end. And when we think that our worldly wants are an end, we think that when we get them, we'll have everything that we want. But that's not true, because wanting is never an end. Wanting is a means to an end. So what's the end that we seek through our wants? Why did I want to move to Colorado, get married, not have to work, and study A Course in Miracles all day? The honest answer to that question for me is, well, I have to give 2 honest answers. One honest answer has to do with the move to Colorado part. Remember, I told you all that my brother used to live in Colorado, and I would come and visit him like 5 times a year because I loved Colorado. Well, what I would do in Colorado is I would go hiking, and I love to get up above the tree line, up where all the wildflowers are. And I would go hiking by myself back then. I wouldn't do that now. But back then, young and stupid, I would go hiking by myself. And I would get up there and I would be above the tree line all by myself. And my mind went blank. I just sat there in the moment with the breeze and the flowers and no thoughts. And I loved it. So this is why I wanted to move to Colorado. I wanted that experience again of the mind being blank and just being in the moment and just loving everything. So you see, moving to Colorado was a means. The end that I really sought was the blank mind in the moment, loving everything. Now, if we just take a quick break and look back at Lesson 122, forgiveness offers everything I want. Forgiveness offers me the opportunity for the clear mind, in the moment, loving everything. In fact, it offers it better than Colorado, because I assure you, you can move to Colorado and still have all of that chatter in your mind. You can even hike with all of that chatter in your mind, and you won't have the clear mind in the present moment, loving everything. So you see, moving to Colorado was a means to an end, and forgiveness offers the end better than moving to Colorado. Now, why did I want to get married and I'll say not have to work and study A Course in Miracles all day? Well, because I wanted to know what enlightenment was. And again, this was a very genuine wanting to know, because remember, I had seen Peace Pilgrim, knowing what love was, knowing love as the only real power in the universe, and I knew I didn't know that. I thought love was an emotion, and I wanted to see as she saw, and I perceived her as enlightened, so I made the I think good assumption that I also needed that clarity of enlightenment to see what she saw. So I wanted enlightenment so I could see what enlightenment was. I wanted enlightenment so I knew how to know only love. That was the end. The means might have been becoming enlightened. And before that, if we back up a little further, the means to becoming enlightened might have been get married, not have to work, and study A Course in Miracles all day. But the end was know only love. I wanted to know only love. Forgiveness offers everything I want. And you know what's really wonderful about forgiveness is, although I might one day sell the house and move to Colorado, and as the story goes, in a roundabout way, I did. It happened, right? But forgiveness doesn't have to wait for that or anything else. Forgiveness offers everything I want right now. And remember the clarity that I had, when I came back and journaled after being at the lake with Jasmine. Forgiveness is simply letting go of the chatter in my mind. If I simply let go of the chatter in my mind, I get everything I truly want right now. Right here. Of course, to the degree that I hold on to the chatter in my mind, I don't get it. Right? And that's maybe what we need to see. What we need to see is it's the chatter in our mind that is the obstacle, not where we live, where we work, who we're married to, how much money we have. It's the chatter in our mind that is the obstacle. And therefore it's letting go of the chatter in our mind that gives us everything we want. Now this week, after reading Lesson 122, Forgiveness Offers Everything That I Want, I went within for the very first time in a long time in this particular way. I went within and I asked within, basically what I asked is, what shall I ask? I asked, what shall I ask? And then some questions came, which led to a writing, and I don't want to go through all of the writing right now. I want to go through the last paragraph of that writing, because it has to do with today's topic. The last paragraph asked me to watch desire. And then it said, as the feeling of separation increases, desires increase. As the feeling of separation dies, desires die. When you notice yourself desiring outside of yourself, realize that is only a distortion of your calling for God, and return instead to your one true desire. Well, that's true. I mean, look at what I just said, right? My desire to move to Colorado, to get married, to not have to work, and to study A Course in Miracles all day, right, was really a distortion of the calling to just return my mind to God right now. Let go of the chatter and just be present right now. You know, the desire to go buy a 1957 Thunderbird, I say that because yesterday we were at a car show, and I think the 1957 Thunderbird is my favorite, and I was talking to the car show, you know, to the people who had Thunderbirds, and they invited me to join their club. You know, they said even wannabes can join the club. Right now, I don't think I'll do that. But anyway, the desire to have a 1957 Thunderbird, well, let's just follow that desire deeper than I actually did. Why would I want a 1957 Thunderbird? I would want it because of the feel of the freedom of driving on a nice sunny day. It has to be a nice sunny day in the vision. A nice sunny day, driving down the open road, you know, feeling the wind in your hair. Oops, what are we looking at? Being in the moment. No chatter in the mind. Yeah, no hail for sure. So see, even the 1957 Thunderbird is a means to an end. The 1957 Thunderbird is a distortion of the calling to return to God right now. All of our desires, no matter what you desire, you write down any desire you think you have, and you trace it through like I have, and you are going to find out that every one of your worldly desires are a distortion, right? Like a distorted miracle principle, right? Within, the heart is calling us to return to God, and the ego distorts it to, I want a truck. I want a new girlfriend. I want a divorce. But what do you really want? And this is why our desire to awaken is called our only true desire. It's still a means to an end, but at least it's not distorted. It's pointing toward what we really want, letting go of all of the chatter in our mind and returning ourselves to God. And it also, when you really learn how to use your true desire as a tool, as a means to an end, the true desire points to right now. Right now, I'm upset because I don't have a 57 Thunderbird, right? Oh, look at my thoughts about the 57 Thunderbird. What do I really want? A 57 Thunderbird or awakening? Ah, I want awakening. I let go of the chatter. Boom, I'm at peace right now. I just want to tell you briefly about a question I got in Ask Regina this week, and then I'll go. David Hempel wrote to me, and he wanted to know, what's that feeling I have, that lacking feeling and tired feeling that I get, that makes me want to come home and just play games or play with my phone? You know, do you know it? And for some people it might be watch movies, or it might be read books, right? But entertainment. What is that lacking and tired feeling I get that makes me just want whatever form of entertainment I engage in? He said, do you know what that is? And I said, yes. That's that distorted calling for God. You want rest from the world, right? You want rest from the world. And it's distorted, and we seek it through entertainment. But actually, the better way to satisfy it would be to let go of everything and to return ourselves to God right now, maybe through contemplation, meditation, or just being present. So realize that all desires except the true desire are distortions. And don't feel guilty for your desires, but trace them. Trace them back. Find out what you really, really want. And then realize that forgiveness right now offers everything that you want. Try that. There'll be a lot less confusion about our desires. And we'll stay very clear and focused on what we want. And we can have it right now.